He was the Mafia Chairman, reckless, untouchable, and feared. She was an innocent nurse, desperate for stability. One night in a gilded cage changed everything. Hyun-woo, cold. You are no longer Talia the nurse. You are the vessel of my heir. You are under my control. Talia, defiant. I'm carrying your heir. If you touch my family, you lose your legitimacy. He promised her safety through control. She showed him love through honesty. But what happens when the only way to protect her is to give up his empire? Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and share.
The first thing Talia registered was the silence. Not the soft, familiar quiet of her small apartment, but a heavy, expensive, sound-dampened void. The second was the weight of a foreign arm draped across her stomach. Her eyes snapped open. Instead of her floral duvet and stacked textbooks, she saw a ceiling high enough to be in a cathedral, painted a deep charcoal grey. The bed was enormous, dressed in silk sheets the colour of midnight. Beside her, his face half buried in a pillow, was the man she vaguely, terrifyingly recognized. Hyun-woo. She had followed her two loudest friends, Chloe and Maya, to the labyrinth last night. A reckless celebration for finally passing her nursing board exams, despite the nagging guilt about leaving her ailing mother and younger brother alone. She hadn't wanted to go. Clubs were loud, sticky, and full of predatory eyes, but Chloe had insisted she needed to shed her skin. Talia remembered the pulsating bass, the sickly sweet vodka soda that had gone down too fast, and laughing so hard her ribs ached. She remembered a private, velvet-roped section, a bottle of champagne that cost more than her month's rent, and then nothing. A blank, terrifying void. She carefully, meticulously, slid out from under his arm. It was heavier than it looked, but the man, even in the deep sleep of the supremely wealthy, barely stirred. He was 25, the infamous, almost mythical, Mafia Chairman Hyun-woo, the youngest and most aggressively powerful figure in the criminal conglomerate her friends only referred to as the organization. He was also notorious for his rotating cast of models, actresses, and socialites. Talia was none of those things. She stood frozen on the plush carpet, wearing only a silk shirt that wasn't hers, a pale blue button-down, pristine and oversized, that smelled faintly of a refined cologne and something sharper, like expensive liquor and adrenaline. Her party dress was a crumpled heap near a marble fireplace that could fit 3 people. Her head swam with a throbbing ache that was only partially a hangover. The rest was pure, adrenalized panic. What happened? She tiptoed across the vast, sunlit room to the window. The view was a dizzying, million-dollar panorama of the city, not the familiar fire escapes and back alleys of her neighborhood. This wasn't just an apartment. It was a fortress, a penthouse suite towering over the city he owned. A sudden, sharp movement behind her made her jump. Hyun-woo was sitting up, completely unbothered by his naked state beneath the sheets. His hair, usually slicked back, was tousled, giving him a dangerous, boyish look. His eyes, the color of cold, dark amber, fixed on her with an unsettling mixture of annoyance and appraisal. "Morning," he drawled, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. He reached to the bedside table, not for a glass of water, but for a sleek, expensive phone and a pack of cigarettes. Talia clutched the silk shirt tighter, feeling the blood drain from her face. I need to go," He raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow, lighting a cigarette with a casual flick of a designer lighter. The smoke curled into the sunlight. You already are. No one's stopping you. His indifference was a punch to the gut. It confirmed her worst fear. This meant nothing to him. Did we? She couldn't finish the question. The shame was a physical weight on her tongue. He took a long drag, his expression unreadable. Yes, Talia, we did. You were extremely enthusiastic, if memory serves. He let the name hang in the air, a sign that she wasn't just some anonymous club-goer. He knew who she was, or at least, her name. You blacked out. I took care of it. Now you can take a cab, or I can have my driver take you. Door's over there. He pointed a long, tapering finger toward an elaborate mahogany door. He had just reduced the last 10 hours of her life to a financial transaction. A ride home. Talia felt a sudden surge of heat, eclipsing the fear. She was used to being invisible, to being the responsible, earnest nurse-to-be who never made mistakes. This man had treated her like a careless, disposable indulgence. Keep the shirt, she spat, ripping the silk overhead and tossing it onto the pristine sheets. She grabbed her own dress, thank God it was black, and quickly struggled into it, her hands shaking. I'll take the cab. She scrambled to the door, fumbling with the handle. Just as she pulled it open, his voice, now devoid of its careless drawl, stopped her. It was cold, sharp, and commanding. Wait. She turned back, her hand still on the brass handle. He was out of bed now, wearing only the sheets wrapped around his lean waist. The playful mask was gone. His eyes were narrowed, assessing her face, her shaky posture, the fear she couldn't hide. You're not like the others, Talia, he said slowly, exhaling a plume of smoke. Don't come back. Don't look for me. And for God's sake, if you ever tell anyone you were here, I will make sure your family never sees a stable day again. You understand? It was a threat, clean and direct, delivered with the casual menace of a predator securing his territory. Talia didn't answer. She didn't have to. She nodded once, stiffly, and then wrenched the door open and ran. A month later, Talia stared at the tiny, faint plus sign on the stick. The cheap paper packaging lay crumpled on the bathroom floor of her tiny apartment. The world outside the small, humid room tilted and spun. She had been nauseous for 2 weeks. She had been exhausted for 3. She had been clinging to the idea that it was stress, or a flu, or anything other than the single, impossible, world-shattering truth confirmed in her hand. Her family, her mother's mounting medical bills, her brother's college tuition, her nursing career, the bedrock of their stability, which she hadn't even truly started yet. And Hyun-woo, the reckless Mafia Chairman, the man who had dismissed her with a threat and a taxi fare, the man whose blood now beat beneath her skin. Talia sank onto the toilet lid, the test stick dropping from her numb fingers. She was carrying the heir to a criminal conglomerate. She was 22, a recent nursing graduate, and pregnant by the most dangerous man in the city. She had to tell him. The thought was a paralyzing, cold dread. But the alternative, keeping this secret, risking his terrifying discovery, and denying the child its father's protection, however dangerous, was worse. She picked up her phone, her fingers hovering over the single, burner number Chloe had slipped her that night, a number she had sworn to delete. Talia found Chloe and Maya exactly where she expected them, lounging on a mismatched velvet sofa in their shared student apartment, surrounded by takeout containers and fashion magazines. The air of careless bliss around them only amplified Talia's simmering rage. "You knew," Talia said, her voice shaking but deceptively quiet. She didn't bother with a greeting. She held the pregnancy test up, the fragile plastic stick feeling heavier than a granite slab. Chloe, the socialite who navigated the club scene like a seasoned predator, laughed nervously. "T, that's not funny." "Whose is that?" "You're graduating, not getting knocked up." Maya, the quieter one, dropped her magazine, her eyes wide with dawning horror. "No way." Talia walked straight up to Chloe, her eyes blazing. "You gave me the number, Chloe. The burner number, just in case. You knew the kind of place the labyrinth was, and you knew who was there." Chloe's carefully constructed nonchalance shattered. She stood up, running a hand through her perfectly styled hair. "Look, Talia, it was one night. We were celebrating. Everyone goes to the VIP section. It's just champagne and a good story." "A good story?" Talia's voice finally broke, rising to a strangled cry. "I'm pregnant, Chloe. Pregnant with the Mafia Chairman's heir. My mother is sick. My brother needs me to be stable. This isn't a story. It's a disaster he already threatened to ruin me for." Wait, Maya interjected, pale. "Hyun-woo? The one who controls everything?" "Yes, Maya. The one you warned me about." Talia bit out, turning on her. "You let me get drunk. You let me go with him." Chloe stepped in front of Maya, defensively. "We were trying to help you, Talia. You're 22 and a virgin. You're brilliant, but you're so boring. We wanted you to experience something thrilling, something that would loosen you up before you started working 12-hour shifts. He gives girls jewelry and connections, not babies. He gives them nothing," Talia retorted bitterly, clutching the test stick tight enough to snap it. "He takes and he discards. And you let me be his plaything." She realized the argument was futile. They were terrified, not remorseful. They saw her current situation as a dramatic social faux pas, not a terrifying life or death scenario. She took a deep, shuddering breath. "I need to contact him," she whispered, her resolve hardening. "I need to tell him. If I try to hide this, I know he'll find out, and the consequences will be worse." Chloe swallowed hard, her facade of cool finally dissolving. "T, you can't. He's surrounded by security. You can't just walk up and say, 'I'm pregnant.' He'll think you're trying to leverage him. He'll silence you. Then I have to give him a reason not to," Talia said, fishing the crumpled burner number out of her jeans pocket. "I have to make him believe this is the only way for him to retain control. I need to meet him where he feels safe." The burner phone was a cheap plastic flip model, cold and unfamiliar in hand. After leaving her friend's apartment, Talia walked 10 blocks until she found a quiet, nondescript coffee shop where she wouldn't feel watched. She typed the number, her thumb hovering over the dial button. Her whole body felt rigid, ready for a fight or flight response. She was calling the man who ran the underground city, who probably had her apartment bugged and her bank account scrutinized already. She pressed dial. The phone rang twice before a deep, calm, male voice answered. Not Hyun-woo's, but a cold, professional tone. "Hello," the voice said. I need to speak to Hyun-woo," Talia managed, her voice barely a squeak. A slight pause. Identify yourself. My name is Talia. I was at the labyrinth a month ago. Tell him I have something he needs to legitimize. She used the exact word from the family conflict scenario, hoping it would resonate with the weight of tradition and hierarchy he was forced to uphold. It was the only card she had. The voice was silent for a full, agonizing minute. The only sound was the clatter of porcelain cups and the distant whir of the espresso machine. Talia's palms were slick with sweat. Finally, the voice returned, colder and sharper than before. Wait where you are. Do not move from that location. Do not contact anyone. If you leave the shop, the line is severed. The line went dead. Talia stared at the cheap phone, realizing the gravity of her action. She had stepped onto a minefield. She took a shaky seat in the corner booth, sipping a lukewarm coffee, staring at the front door. 20 minutes later, a sleek, black sedan-tinted windows, no visible license plate, pulled up silently to the curb. Two massive, impeccably dressed men in dark suits entered the coffee shop. They moved with the trained, economic grace of bodyguards. One of them approached her table. His face was emotionless. "Miss Talia," he said, "the chairman will see you now." Talia stood up, her nursing resolve replacing her fear. She had to protect the life growing inside her, even if it meant walking into the dragon's lair. Thank you so much for watching. Your support really means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll know as soon as episode 2 drops.